every month. Okay, so I am going to kick things off. I'm Trisha Ben, I'm the CEO of C-Suite Network, and I am so honored always to kick off the Women's Coaching and Consulting Council on behalf of our chair, our esteemed chair, Kathleen Caldwell. So when it comes to everything related to supporting and accelerating the success of women coaches, all of us, our Women's Coaching and Consulting Council is absolutely the beacon across the whole of the C-suite platform. And Kathleen Caldwell, she's the CEO of Caldwell Consulting Group and obviously the founder of this council and Women's Success Accelerator. And she really pours her heart and soul into guiding and mentoring successful women in business to achieve that greater impact. And of course, practically speaking, the income and the demonstration of the thought leadership that creates that opportunity. So her clients are female executives and business owners who aspire to scale up their careers and business through strategic execution, guidance from an expert coach and advisor, and support from a global sisterhood. And you know, that business community, how powerful is that for us to have that connectivity and a place where we can be talking about the things that are most critical as we continue to grow, right? Death is not growing, not learning. Somebody who thinks they know it all really knows nothing. And so anyway, I thank you very much, Kathleen, on behalf of all of us here. And I'm so thrilled to be able to hand things over because I know we have another incredible topic for today.
Trisha, Ben, thank you, thank you, thank you. So appreciate you and everything that you're doing as CEO in the C-Suite Network and just you as a woman leader, a global woman leader. I mean, you are honestly, when I thought of today's topic, I thought of a leader who leads through volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times. And you are the poster leader for that. So thank you for that. Very, very good. Good. Thank you. Great. Good. Well, let's get into our important topic today. And what we're really known for in our council is bringing together leaders, coaches, consultants, trusted advisors, thought leaders, as Trisha mentioned, but coming together in a community so we can learn more and grow so we can be more invaluable to not only ourselves, our lives, but also to our clients and our communities. And I really see that there's a gap in the women's coaching and consulting area of thought leaders is, community and also thought leadership. Hello. So we're stepping into the gap and we're really doing that in a very big way. And I'm so excited. I'll be celebrating my personal 9-year anniversary with C-Suite Network on June the 7th. And so it is time to really get things ramped up to support each of you and promote you and showcase you. So here we go. So excited about this. And our topic today, I think, is just absolutely vital to think about how are we actually doing this? And, I kept thinking about, VUCA. We'll talk more about this, and I want to get your voices in here on what are you experiencing, it's experiencing. And so a short definition, a context setting, and also I think a VUCA is also is volatility. It's hurricanes, it's earthquakes, it's all kinds of life conditions, but we can have solutions for that. And so with that, thank you again, Trisha, for the beautiful introduction. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of our council, and I'm so proud of the work that we're doing. And we have a very vibrant YouTube channel. We're promoting and showcasing all of our thought leaders, our esteemed faculty, and so grateful for that. And so just a quick review is that we have had, as always, incredible programs. And so be sure to check out and help promote our esteemed faculty members, our co-council members here. Nancy Geary had an incredible program about monetizing your IP and your content. Be sure to check that out. Of course, our Ask the Chairman program was fantastic. I'm still getting messages about women that said, Jeffrey said this one thing, and it had me think differently about how I'm approaching this. And so Tricia, we can't wait. We're getting the date arranged for you. We want to focus and showcase on you. Ask the CEO from your perspective on how you're seeing life and business as well. So we're going to get that scheduled. Hopefully we can do that in the next month. And of course, Susan Younger talking about compassion in the workplace and in life. And you're really doing it, Susan. Thank you. Great program. Cindy Watson talked about scaling up your global business program. Deb Creer about Podfest. What are the highlights that are happening in podcasting? And she would know, going on about 850 podcasts. So be sure to check that out. And of course, Gloria St. Martin Lowry, thank you to you to be our esteemed faculty panelist to talk about how to build allies, champions, advocates in your client workplaces. And we talked about scaling. Sonia Jante talked about how to take the right risks. She had an excellent assessment that you can get through her website. And of course, Christina DiGiacomo, all things AI and speaking. And so we just continue on. We've stepped up the pace. As you can see, we now have a program every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And so we're going to be inviting more and more and more people from the coaching and consulting community, the global community, to come join us and be featured on our programs and to highlight and showcase each of you as well. Okay. So to pivot in transition here, I'd like to think that we have a beautiful world, and of course we do, and a global community of people just getting along and everything is just wonderful, holding hands and loving everything, and no volatility, no uncertainty, nothing going on. However, that's not the case, right? You know this to be true, is that there is a lot of volatility, there is uncertainty, and so the purpose of today is to help us have a better handle on this for not only ourselves, but also be able to get closer and add more value to our clients. And so this is the purpose of today's program, is to really think from both perspectives on how we can get over there with them, understand what they're dealing with, so we can serve them even better and offer more value and move closer. Because I think that's one of the things that I'm noticing is moving closer to people physically, emotionally, and in every way possible. Moving closer and listening more are the things that are working really well. And of course, serving them. So you've heard of this term, Gloria, you've mentioned it. I know that you're using it quite a bit in your corporate work, but volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. There's a term for it. It's amazing with VUCA, but it's not a new term. It's certainly a term in the project management world, because the very, very smart economists and educators, Warren Bennis and Bert Namis, put together this whole body of work back in the 80s. So this is not anything that's new, but they essentially codified it and put it in a body of work. Some say that it was the U.S. War College that started this whole thing, but in my in-depth research, what I found out is that they used the framework that was out in the books that Warren Bennis and Bert Namis wrote. So would like to give these gentlemen credit. And of course, the U.S. Army War College implemented it because they needed to have a framework that they could move forward post-Cold War. Okay. So curious question number one is, do your clients have a framework that they can use consistently to deal with VUCA? Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I think in my thought process, the thing that is the most recent experience that we as a global world community dealt with is COVID-19 was certainly a VUCA situation, right? It came on us. We didn't have a framework on how to handle it. And Tricia, I would love if you would like to jump in, because I think C-Suite Network was a fabulous model for how an organization dealt with COVID. There was a real pivot that happened with C-Suite Network.
It was immediate and catastrophic potentially. So yes, that was That was the living, breathing example. And it's so interesting, Kathleen, 4 years out from happening, I can tell you that our actions in those first 72 hours, literally, we are still feeling the ramifications that are incredibly positive because of that. It's absolutely, you're triggering me that I should be writing a case study of this because I feel it every day. It's incredible. And maybe even more palpably now after 4 years than in the earlier days, in some ways. So yes, catastrophic, everything's shutting down. The world is shutting down. Lots of people saying, enjoy your couch for a few days. You'll get back to work when things recover. And obviously that didn't happen. So our whole tact was, this is potentially catastrophic. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen, but what we will promise is that we will live by the C-suite principles, relevancy, reach, and at that point, reciprocity. And we will be here for our community. And so we stuck that stake in the ground. I always will say huge kudos to Jeffrey Hazlett, my business partner, our chairman and founder, who said, we're not healthcare first responders, but we are business first responders. And we canceled nothing, and we supported people when we were being as catastrophically affected as any business out there by what happened with shutting the world down. We didn't have the digital footprint we have right now. So it was a tremendous and immediate focus on operationalizing and supporting our community and completely reforming and metamorphosizing our business model and our whole entire platform and ecosystem of C-suite network.
Yes, yes. And yeah, how many of you, thank you, Tricia, how many of you remember thinking, well, this is just going to be a couple weeks and and then it went, so, well, maybe it'll be until June. Everything will get back to normal in June. That was another month. And then it was like the fall and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And so I think that was a real world VUCA situation. And, I'm curious, what were your takeaways? Because I think that from my perspective, that's the foundation of how we move forward. It's the foundation to actually discuss what were the lessons that we learned and how can we then take those lessons to know that there will be another situation that comes. We don't know when. We do know that it will happen. What can we anchor in as a foundation for going forward? And then we'll talk about some other frameworks. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Yeah, jump
I'll
in.
I'll jump in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, with my current business, I don't feel that my clients are necessarily as impacted. But going back to, as you're talking about those early days of COVID, I was working in financial planning in Canada's largest bank at that time. And the chaos, that whole confusion that came about that hit us so hard. And luckily we had the video capacity to go home and work from home. But while the rest of the world kind of went to sleep in this waiting period, we were working triple time because our jobs became not just financial planners, but now we're counselors as well. Because a lot of my clients were little old ladies who are now trapped alone in their rooms in these seniors' homes. And I was the one they're calling. Or these people who had lost their jobs, they couldn't pay their mortgage, the investments are crashing, they're calling me. So I was definitely in the middle of a huge VUCA.
Absolutely. Tornado, huh?
Oh, it was crazy, yes.
Yeah, yes, yes, yeah. Thank you for mentioning that, Kathy. And I think that you're really pointing out too is what were the attributes, what were the things that people were experiencing that, the emotions, the volatility, all of these things. And then how did we arise to the occasion? Certainly, those tools that we used, those personal and business tools and attributes and values, how did we rise to the occasion to do that? I think there were a lot of advisors who didn't have the emotional intelligence to do those things because they were dealing, with their own stuff, let
Yes.
alone
Yeah.
serving clients, right? Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think a lot of those skills that we learned in that situation, now the world is a bit quieter now, but when you think about all of the big things that are going on right now, have left us in this state of uncertainty and on living on the edge, really, in so many ways, emotionally, financially, as far as our jobs are going. And I think that's causing a whole different level of unsettledness, of just that uncertainty is running so deep now.
Yes. Excellent points. Excellent points. Yes. Yeah. Gloria, jump in. Susan, Sheila, jump in. What were some lessons that you learned, or what did you see for yourself, for your clients and yourself?
Yeah, much like with C-suite, you had to pivot. Our forte was working with people in person, and that came to a screeching halt. Companies had more important things to focus on, which was keeping their businesses running, keeping their employees safe. And so we really took it as an opportunity to rethink who we are and what we did and what value we provided. And we made some changes we took a hard look, saw that what we did was still foundational for culture, and we made some tweaks. The other thing that was, I think, interesting to me to see is we got a chance to see how quickly the world of business could pivot. We were used to hearing, CEOs, executives of organizations say, well, people can't work from home. You have to earn the right to work from home. There wasn't necessarily high levels of trust. Well, now trust is out the window because we don't have any other choice, and we did it, and it worked. So I loved, in a weird way, that it pushed businesses to think about things and see possibilities where we have this natural reaction to want to say, no, that won't work. No, we can't do that. Well, the playbook is thrown out. So now's the chance to say, okay, what do we do? And so for me, it's that whole mindset of experimentation, because we, in our business stop, we're like, okay, what can we do? How can we pivot to some virtual stuff? Worked with a long-term client that we did in-person stuff, convinced her to say, let's do a virtual train the trainer. And she was taking a risk, but it worked really well. So for me, in a weird way, it became a fun exercise to just say, okay, well, shoot, let's experiment. And the beauty about experiments are there's no failure with experimenting. I mean, in medical research, it's just learning. And if that's your mindset, that you're experimenting, nobody's going to, drive a business off a cliff or anything. But if you're experimenting, you're going to try things, you're going to learn, you're going to adapt, you're going to pivot, you're going to, take a step back and rethink it, but all with the intent of moving forward. So it had that kind of energy to it. As bad as COVID was, I like the fact that it pushed a bunch of us out of our comfort zone.
Yes.
And I think more people are in the mindset of that quote of get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and things that make us uncomfortable, we tend to shy away from rather than lean into. So I see more, I love it when I see more people leaning in.
Yes. And the unintended consequences of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, sitting all day. And getting out and moving a bit, right? Yeah, exactly. To Trisha's point earlier of getting out and trying a new environment for everything that we're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome, Carol. We're talking about VUCA, and also what did we learn from the COVID? Because COVID was a perfect example of this whole VUCA model that we're talking about, of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So yeah, Susan, jump in. Sheila, jump in. What are you seeing with your clients and for yourself about this VUCA? What happened in the past? Because we'll talk about going forward in a moment. Yeah.
For me, what was interesting in 2020 was the fact that where others were really crazed and worried about it, having been through enough ups and downs at various times in life, I became one of those anchoring people for some others. So we put together a group of gals that we knew locally, and some of us were already working on Zoom. and doing some things. So for us, it wasn't quite the shock that it was for others. We became the stabilizers that pulled that group together and said, okay, let's talk about where are you now? What is coming up for you? What can you turn into a possibility instead of looking at it as an impossibility? What could you look at from a new direction? What are you finding that you can share with others to help them find a new way to move forward? And I was having some time to look at things and find speakers in international situations that I would have never found otherwise. But all of a sudden, there was an availability that was worldwide to connect with people. And what it actually did is connected me with someone who, when I got reconnected with C-suite later that summer, was actually somebody I had hoped to be able to connect with from a different direction. And you just find those things that all of a sudden start to come together because you continue to show up in whatever way you can. I also discovered that things that I thought would not last did, and some things that I thought would didn't. And you start to understand that you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to give yourself the grace to sometimes step back and say, this isn't working. What aspects of it can I now apply to something else? And sometimes that something else is so far removed from what you ever thought you'd be doing, yet you understand that you can take the skill set from something you learned years ago and apply it to something new now and help others start to do the same in what they're doing.
Gorgeous. Yes, Susan, thank you. Thank you. And that's the direction that we're going to go in next, of course, is what are we seeing now that's current in 2024? Yeah. Sheila, jump in. Carol, jump in too. Yeah, we want to get your voices in here as well.
Well, it's always hard to follow Susan. Always such wisdom. So a couple things, but COVID, how many people had business interruption plans in place, right? So that is something that I was like, oh, you know what? I personally don't have a business interruption plan. So I started writing one. My corporate job had one, and we were able to implement within like a week, right? Everybody was up and running. It was really seamless. It was pretty darn impressive. But I think about, you think about, do you have an business interruption plan for yourself? Because large corporations do, but what about you? So that's something that COVID taught me as well. And then it also taught me, I wrote down some notes here. It taught me like not to worry about things I can't control. Because there were so many times that we were just stressing about different aspects of the pandemic, but we can't control those. So we had to really focus, and it helped me focus on really what can I control? And that's where I put my focus. So I can control this. So then I felt like when the whole world felt like it was out of control, then there was some stability from different things that I could control. And that was calming for me. That was, that was very helpful to me. Then, you know what? We all became couch potatoes, and a lot of people started dressing sloppy. So it was a blessing for me because people are still can't come out of that. So, I mean, it's a good thing, but I didn't let myself do that, right? I didn't put on sweatpants when I was at home. I didn't, throw on t-shirts and flip-flops, and that's not how I showed up at home every day. And I still don't show up at home like that every day. So I made it a point just to, keep going and stay as normal, whatever normal was for me, stay as normal as I could to help my mindset get through that.
Oh, Sheila, we're going to have you run through a business interruption plan. We're going to be leaning into that one. You teed that up for us. So that is fantastic. Yeah, great. So thank you. And so moving forward, and Carol, we want to get your voice in here, of course, is, looking back at, this was the VUCA situation. My gosh, this was like textbook. And thinking about as we are thought leaders, yes, we are. And as consultants and trusted advisors and coaches for our clients, is anticipating what are the what's what are the VUCA situations that are happening. Let's go back. I'm sorry, I'm getting excited here and already going towards the models, ladies. Sorry. See, this is VUCA with the mouse. This is called VUCA mouse. Okay, there we go. Okay. And so just kind of my gosh. Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. Great. So what are you seeing that are the current 2024 VUCA conditions? What are you seeing in the way of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity with the foundation of, hey, no matter what, as Sheila said, we can control our mindset and our actions. We can control ourselves. But what are you seeing for like what's happening now? Because I think these are really beautiful clues to the IP and to the service and value we can provide to our clients. Again, back to our brother, Tyler Hazlett, what are the problems that we're solving? Hello. Yeah. So what are you thinking, anticipating in this year? What are you saying? Maybe we can do a little popcorning about this. Certainly the election, certainly campus, demonstrations and all of this. People are feeling their safety and their concern. They're uncertain about politics, the economy. Hello. In addition to those things, I mean, what are you seeing are the VUCA situations for this year?
I think part of it for me is the spillover to business with some of those topics, because workers today, people in today's day and age, they, COVID gave them a real opportunity to think hard about what they were doing, where they were doing it, who they were doing it for. And I think it really created, this heightened awareness for people about, am I at a place that shares my values? Am I at a place that cares? So, my experience is business leaders, a lot of HR folks are having to deal with people who come forward and say, well, where are we on this? I mean, with Disney, it was the whole don't say gay thing. Employees demanded, what's our response in Florida? I had talked with a VP of HR who, we were talking about the value of networks, and she said it was challenging the Hobbs decision had just come out, right? And so she's just saying, I want to know what other people like me are doing about this kind of stuff in business. And so I'm giving examples from things that, aren't a 2024 thing. It's just going to continue in that regard. So businesses looking and saying, we keep all this stuff separate is just, employees aren't letting that be the case. So to me, that just means businesses have to be willing to listen, to, state their views, listen, even if they don't make changes, but, things can get out of control pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one example of what I'm seeing is business leaders, are struggling with how do I deal with what's happening in the world. And because everybody has a strong perspective on certainly on politics, certainly on those kinds of things. And we're in an election year too. Boy.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Great points.
Yeah.
Please jump in. Yeah, please.
And I think on top of it, it's that mental worn down feeling that is occurring in almost any discussion you have with people about, I was listening to something from MIT and Sloan this morning. One of the things they were talking about is the number of apps used in business has now gotten to the point where we can't even remember. Now, did that come in as a text? Was it in some other stream? Where do I go to find that piece of information? We are so distracted by all the things that are coming at us that are supposedly moving us forward faster and better, that we don't have time to have a break and give our brain enough rest to be able to even remember where the heck to look for that. those things wear on the entirety of everybody involved, and it makes them react to things that they should not be quite so maybe like, what do you mean? Wait a minute, where did I miss that? It gives them that sense that they are incomplete and they are not worthy. You know, it plays to all those sides of negativity in how we see ourselves as not being capable of handling what should be easy.
Oh, fabulous, Susan. And I didn't put it in the slides, but I think it's so important. You know, what you're saying is, doesn't it also bring up the fear, false evidence appearing real, or F everything and run, you know, couple different acronyms. I mean, it brings up the fight or flight in ourselves and also our clients. So, you know, in a moment, I want to pivot to what can we do about it? You know, what can we do to support our clients and our communities in this? You know, Carol, certainly we want to get your voice in here too, because I think that this has also caused people to say, hey, I got to come back to, I got to have my LinkedIn looking good, ready, optimized at all times, because I don't know what's going to happen in the world. And LinkedIn is something that I know I can always use to come back to. So what are you seeing around people's drive to have, you know, more certainty and more, you know, less ambiguity, you know, less VUCA, so to speak, with their LinkedIn? And you're on mute, dear. Yeah. You are on mute. And we want to hear what you have to say.
There it is. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that that is true, that people are realizing that their narrative online is one of the few things that they can control. So that's huge. But, you know, another thing, we were talking earlier about how did we respond to the pandemic? What things did we do? I did a lot of self-care things. I learned some new skills. I learned about deep breathing and meditation and all of those things. And yesterday, in between trying to do my class and then speaking in the evening to the Association of Image Consultants International, I had a couple of client calls where the clients were like up here with anxiety, and they needed that sense of calm that I could bring to them, which is interesting because, of course, you know, I can be up there too. But I was able to ground them and help them to focus on positive things and move forward. And I thought, you know, this is so interesting on a day when, you know, I could just fly apart for all of the moving parts that were going. I was centered that day. I was centered yesterday. I was able to deliver. And I had the reserve available for the people that called on me for support. So that was something I appreciated.
How fantastic. Congratulations, Carol. That's fantastic. Yes. And I think, you know, in the next couple slides, I just want to mention a couple frameworks that we can use, but also we're going to have in 2 weeks during the celebration of the International Coaching Federation Week for Coaches is we're going to have a program on coaches' self-care and what are we doing to take care of ourselves, because we've got to be prepared and ready as coaches. We serve everybody else all the time. What are we doing to serve ourselves? And so it's going to be an important topic. I think it's a topic that's not talked about enough, but we're talking about it in our council. Okay. Self-care for coaches and consultants. So thank you very much. And so part of, I think for this, the topic for today is, of course, there's opportunity. You know, we always, that's our theme in our council, is there's always opportunity to be more in tune to what our clients and our customers need and how are things how are things occurring for them? And so being really in tune for what's happening to what's their experience of business and life and the conditions. And I think it's a great conversation starter. Gloria, you mentioned gathering people together to have these kinds of conversations, because I also notice COVID also put us on islands. People felt, and I think it's also carried over a little bit, is this self-reliance, this resiliency. Families were in pods, with themselves, and they tried to break out and get into other pods with other safe folks during COVID. And I think that mindset of wanting to come out and be in community. Yes, there are people that don't want that. Okay, got that. But people that are longing for community, connection. You'll see in-person events. You see them, Trisha, when you and the C-suite network are going around the country. You see people are really loving being together again. So community more than Zoom. And if you want to jump in, want to hear your point of view on this, of course. Yeah.
I wouldn't generalize that way. It's really interesting. So and it's only a tiny distinction that I want to make, but I think it's really important. Whether it's in person or Zoom, I think the distinction people are making is being in authentic community. And we had a community leader who's been a community leader for decades with us on Friday night at Celebrates. He was blown away and joined over the weekend. He's now signed up as a C-suite leader, a contributor in C-suite. And we had a meeting with him on Wednesday, and he was still gushing with the emotion of what this community of C-suite network is. And so I think it is not just that people are grateful to be together in person again, because some things, well, it feels like it's the only time this has ever happened. It's not. We've all been through catastrophic events in our businesses, right? The pandemic, the only difference with the pandemic is that it all happened at once for everyone. That's really the only difference. We're all going through these catastrophic scenarios in our business, business interruption, Sheila, like what a great point. And obviously that your power could go out today. Okay, you have a business interruption plan. Like there's these things happen all the time in our businesses. They just happen at the same time. So I really think that momentum, and that's what I was saying earlier about C-suite network, all those seeds we sowed, all of the hardships and sacrifices that we took on to really be here for our community and not back away and not cancel anything and, do everything we could, which was something we took very personally seriously, not just our business, but personally seriously. I think that's why that momentum around that is so powerful right now, because people are seeking that authentic connection. And I think Friday night is another great example of, we have people coming in from Australia that I have never met in person, that I don't think any of us have probably met in person. And yet we love them, we just love them. They are our people. So I think that's a really powerful distinction that we can make right now, is that authentic connection, real support, understanding. And, we added respect to our principles and C-suite: relevancy, reach, reciprocity, respecting people for who they are, what they bring as strengths, what they're seeking in terms of support. I think that's the real power in what's happening virtually and in person.
And I love that you said that, because I think people do have a desire to be together physically in community, and people aren't viewing that as that's the only thing that I want. If we did that, this group wouldn't exist like this, right? And so creating that authentic community, the virtual world really helps you foster that, so that when you are in person, it's just an even bigger kind of wow experience. I love that you said that, because I think most people would agree with that it is, the virtual setting gives us the opportunity to stay connected, so it's not either or.
Right. And both, right? Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes. And Gloria, we can see that in your social posts when you are also with people, in person, yeah, IRL in real life, whatever, and also on Zoom. Susan, you're leading your Table of Soul conversations. And Kathy, we know you've got plans for in person, and certain you're doing a lot of things online. Sheila and Carol, the same thing. Carol, with your new LinkedIn Leaders Lab, moving to a group model. So trying different things and experimenting, as you mentioned, Gloria, as well. Yeah, yes. So before we jump into some models we can use, and then we'll wrap up, any other points you'd like to make? Thank you, Trisha. Authenticity, right, exactly. Yeah. And how do we as leaders cultivate this connection with people? Who are we being that we can connect with people over the camera? It's a really important thing, isn't it? Yeah. That could be a whole topic in itself, and it will.
Using you as an example, when you just flagged for me, when the camera's being on, when you're creating authentic community, you look in each other's eyes, right? Now, if you're in a hospital bed, you're driving, Deborah, thank you for not having your camera on because we want you to be really, really safe. And it's the way that you can be here in community, even though you have to be driving. Those are exceptions, but for the most part, creating an environment like you do, Kathleen, where we're looking eye to eye and we can feel what's happening in the room and we can learn, tactilely, even though we're not actually able to touch each other or be there. So that community leadership where you can see we're all super engaged, our eyes are open,
We're leaning in. Yeah, we're not
yeah, we're leaning in. It's so powerful. And I think a lot of times people don't own that. I'll give a really abysmal example. My children were home during COVID. They did not make them turn their cameras on to attend school. I still am just completely blown away by this. Like, I can't imagine another way to communicate more effectively. You don't matter. And I don't need to care that you are listening, seeing, understanding anything. It just is absurd to me. So the kind of community leadership that you provide, Kathleen, to say, like, it matters that you're here and we're going to hear you and we're going to celebrate you and we're going to, support, that is so critical and so valuable.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, hello, back to our values. To promote you, showcase you, and highlight you, ultimately helping you and me and all of us be seen in the world, be seen and heard. So thank you. Back to the values in motion. Yes. Okay, good. Great. Okay. So wrapping up, I hope this has been valuable. I have been so excited about this program. I think it's so important. And I also think that some models, a quick model, if you want to take a screenshot of this, I think we instinctively know the leadership model, but I think it's great to quantify this. And Gloria, you mentioned that you go through this VUCA survey and you use this in your work as well in organizations. But I think, if we look at the axis here, and not to spend a ton of time on this, but to think about the very bottom, that the knowledge of the situation. I mean, we could use COVID as an example or whatever, but if you don't have knowledge of the situation, low all the way to high, there's a lot of ambiguity. Okay. And of course, the y-axis, so to speak, we've got an X and Y axis, the y-axis of predictability of action. And what should we do about it? What do we know about it? Is ambiguity, it requires clarity. Hello. And uncertainty, I think, also requires us to have a vision moving forward. And so complexity, we've got to get it down to the basic bare bones of what are the problems we're solving, what are the actual issues. And of course, the emotions and the things go along with it, we can handle too, but just getting it down to the basic core things. And of course, volatility. And I think also understanding that people's reactions are going to be completely different. And as you've all said, is handling everybody in the organization, all of our clients, everybody matters and everybody counts. So that, of course, stretches our clients' abilities thin. And so, at a basic core level, a framework that I think that we can use from today is, of course, and I'd love to have somebody else read this so I can get your voices in here. Who would like to read this model from this to this? Let's get your voices in. Jump in, please.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah.
From volatility, let's get to vision. From uncertainty, let's move towards understanding. For complexity, let's move towards clarity, and ambiguity towards agility.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful. And I think that also we can lean into this. So as a council, we are leaning into this, and let's get things stirred up, because ambivalence and invisibility are two things that are going to be they're not going to help us. So we can be the agitators in a positive way, and disruption. We had a whole program, good golly, last year about being disruptors. And so I think it's our job and our opportunity to reframe VUCA and to be a helper and a guide and a mentor to all of our clients, to our communities. And of course, as we finish up here, be the lighthouse. We have an opportunity to be the lighthouse. And if anybody's watching the show Beacon 23, anybody watching Beacon 23, it's so interesting because it's a futuristic type of setting. And the thing that they all come back to is the lighthouse keeper, that they are the person that people are looking to. So being the lighthouse keeper, along with being the peacock, we've used this metaphor in so many different ways, but peacocks are unapologetic about showing their beauty and their flowers, and they are they're beautiful. Everything that they are also unapologetic about squawking, yelling, hollering, talking, and letting the world know I am here. Okay. So we're the lighthouse and we're the peacock together. I might even use AI to come up with some sort of metaphor. There we go. And as we complete, just curious, what are your biggest takeaways? What has been important to you about investing 51 minutes in our time together? And then we'll just go into tell you quickly what's happening in the coming weeks. Yeah, biggest takeaways.
I'll start. So I think, we think about VUCA from our standpoint and how it affects us, but then how, just changing that to how is that affecting our clients? Like what VUCA, like which thing are they going through? What's, maybe the industry that they're in or whatever that is. So just, more awareness of that with your clients. So what are they going through?
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Yes, thank you. And I'm curious, who is really asking these kinds of questions? Hello, we are in our council, but using this as a basic practice of inquiring with our communities and our clients. I think also I'm going to be taking each one of these and really engaging in conversation with each of the VUCA aspects. Yeah, thank you. Who else?
I love what Sheila just shared, because if you think about anything that you're feeling badly about, anything in life, if you focus or refocus to service, immediately your problems seem very, very small. And so I love that empowerment of, yes, I may be feeling this, but if I think to how I can serve, i.e., how are others doing? How are they feeling? How are they struggling? What are the pain points they're trying to solve? All of those kinds of things. It completely refocuses. And we talked about C-suite network and COVID. We sat still for like 18 hours a day, every day, a very long time. And I wasn't thinking too much about, anything other than how we were serving. And that made that go by in the blink of an eye. So I just love that insight, Sheila. I think that's so powerful.
Thank you,
I think-
Tricia. Yes, great. Kathy,
Yeah,
please.
the other side of that too is acknowledging the power that we do have as individuals to impact the people that we're with, and that even the smallest thing, whether it's that smile or that connection or that words of encouragement, even those little things can have a massive impact on other people.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. We never know what others are going through, right? And dealing with, right?
And what I'm finding is when we're in discussions like this, it's amazing how many others who were part of the discussion, as they come across something, will share with me or share with collectively within the group something that came up that they go, oh, wait, this now made me think of this when I heard that. And it expands the ability for us to find, whether it's a new framework, a new idea, a way to address something that allows us to think about the different perspective somebody else has. And I was driving to meet somebody for an appointment last night, and somebody calls me and she says, okay, I just had all this stuff thrown at me. Can I bounce it off of you? I maybe need 5 minutes. And I said, I've got 30 minutes on the road, just talk. And, you know, she did. It ended up filling the full 30 minutes. We could have gone for an hour. You end up finding ways to expand conversations because one idea builds upon another.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And coming with a caring spirit, right? Yeah, caring, compassionate, with the, as Carol mentioned, the appropriate boundaries, the appropriate restorative, grounding for ourselves. Yeah, great, great boundaries in watching those tolerations. Yeah, thank you. Great, great, great. Who else? Yeah, jump in.
For me, I'll jump in. I think it's a great time to be a coach and a consultant in today's.
Sure is, isn't it?
And in a VUCA world with things changing,
Right.
because we're in a position to help those that we serve see possibilities through those difficult, challenging times. So it's staying curious and asking questions and being facilitators to get them to, the other side of whatever kind of challenge they're going through. So it's fun times, actually.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you very much, Gloria. That's right. Being the lighthouse and having some fun along the way. Yes. Yeah. Carol, do you want to jump in? Deborah, jump in, please. Yeah.
Certainly. So one of the things that is interesting is I just found not my next article, because that's almost written, but the one after that will be about LinkedIn as self-care. Managing your narrative is one thing you can control. I think that can be a really powerful concept that I would like to write about.
Fantastic. We're leaning in, can't wait to read it and promote it and repost, right? Yeah, great. Good. Thank you. Deborah, jump in, please.
Thank you so much. And it's been a wonderful combo. I appreciate listening in. And my reflections are akin to the woman just before the woman before me in terms of great time to be a coach, because so many of us are passionate about leading women. In my case, I'm particularly aimed towards women, towards truly a transformational. And I get how tired the term is, and yet there's still so rich meaning in transformation. And I think before the pandemic, we were kind of lackadaisical about our plans for our future. And many of us lost people. I mean, we're talking about the business interruption. Let's remind ourselves 1 million people died, or damn close to it. And so there was a whole set of, a sense, an appall, if you will, of grief that has not subsided. And so those of us who are in that space now, and I'm a certified grief coach, and so I integrate the grief recovery tools into everything I do, and it has been very, very valuable to my people. So I think people in general are very, very attuned to this isn't a dress rehearsal, and it is time for us to face radically forward, take responsibility for our lives, and just reach for the gusto, go for the gusto. So that's my 2 cents.
Deborah, thank you. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Yes, great, 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 great. Anyone else before we complete? Oh gosh, what a fantastic program. And so, oh my goodness, loved every second of our time. And here in our council, we're not just sitting on our laurels here. The key is to take, as all of you said, we got to do something with this. And so, as a C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council member, you're a founding member, esteemed faculty member, we've got a visibility challenge going on. So for you faculty members who are official members, we have got a 30-day visibility challenge. Every day, there's a different post in our private Facebook group that you can all access, of course, with a different post every day to have people know you, like you, trust you, and hire you. Okay. Every week there's a new topic. With every day there's specifics. So please jump in. This is something I'm doing as a gift to all of our community, because if people do not know you, they cannot hire you. Okay. So let's take that. And I know several of you are running with us. I am too. And of course, Saturday morning, Women's Success Circle. Oh, it's gorgeous. Our theme of the Kentucky Derby this Saturday, we're going to talk about bet on yourself. How do you bet on yourself? It is a fabulous program, 27 minutes. And of course, next week, we're doing a 3-day challenge, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, all about corporate coaching. How do you get in? How do you succeed? How do you build your corporate coaching business? Because we've got to have that diversity of income, opportunities, and contribution. So it's going to be a great thing. 1 hour each day, really powerful programs. Okay. And of course, we are inviting more and more and more sisters into our council. So we cannot wait to promote you, showcase you, highlight you, give you a platform to rise and shine. And so joining C-Suite Network is the key to this whole thing. Check out our YouTube channel. And of course, schedule a one-on-one with me. If you're even as a current esteemed faculty member, let's talk about your next program and how we can highlight, promote, and showcase you again and again and again and again. That's what we all do. So with that, thank you for a great program today, as always. Lots of love to each of you. Thank you. Yeah. So how about if you lean in and we can look at each other for a moment and give each other a little nod that, you know what? We're doing good work. We're doing good work. The world notices. The world needs us, wants us, and we're doing great work. Okay. Lots of love to each of you. Bye for now. See you soon. Okay. Bye.